Okay, we're going to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing next as far as a screen replacement, but it's important that you know most phones, before you get started, remove the SIM card tray and then get ready with a repair. Okay, so today we're going to do a screen replacement for a Samsung Galaxy A53. The first thing we need to do is we're going to put the phone with the screen facing up, and we're going to put it on our heat source 90 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes. So we're going to wait for the heat source to get to 90 degrees. After it hits that temperature, then we're going to lay it down there for 5 minutes, and then we're going to start taking the back off. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, one thing to keep in mind when you're prying on this phone, and when you're prying on most phones, it's good practice to do it, is your pry tool, you want it to go up a little bit. Never sideways or never down. You're prying like in this direction, not like this and not like this, but up. So by prying up, when the phone is already been heated up like we did before, it just comes out so much easier. Next step is to remove the screws from the top and the bottom. If you have an electric driver like this one, it makes it so much easier for you. Once your screws are all loosened, just take a spudger, and most Samsungs have a little area that's kind of like a little notch. You also want to be careful with these wires, antenna wires. And you can see right there, there's a little notch. I don't know if you can see it there. There's the notch there. Disconnect the battery first. And the next thing we're going to do is basically take everything off here and transfer it over here. Everything's coming out from here, going over there. Actually, you're going to hold it this way. Everything's going to go from here to there. This is your fingerprint reader, and if the phone is still warm enough, it'll come out real easy. If not, it's good to warm up the phone. Okay, while removing the daughter board, you want to pry these two flex connectors, and below this one, particularly this one right here, that connector has to come forward, just like you're seeing here. You would have to look at the replacement one, how it goes. Okay, so it has to go forward. The back side of it has some adhesive. If it's still warm, it should come up easily, and then your daughter board should come up. So once it's out, I personally don't like to disconnect the antenna cables, just because I'm of the belief that the less things you need to disconnect, the better, especially if there's no need to disconnect them. So I like to keep my antenna cables connected there. And the same way that the daughter board comes out, the motherboard should also come out. In some cases with some Samsung phones, you do have some paste underneath and it makes it a little difficult, but with this phone, it all comes up in one piece, so that makes it easier. So to remove the battery, same thing. We're going to put it here for 5 minutes on 90 degrees. We're going to wait till our source hits 90 degrees. Once it hits 90 degrees, then we will put our phone down, and then the battery should come out easily. If not, we can use some alcohol as well. So once it's been heated up, you're going to take a card like this one. These cards are like made specifically to remove batteries on these phones. So So you want to see on the phone where you have the biggest gap on the side. In this case, it's here, and this should come out like butter, seriously. Oh, there we go. Once it's up, once that adhesive is up, there we go. It's completely out. So the next thing you're going to remove is that vibrate motor. Take an old tweezer that may have been damaged previously. Don't use your good ones. And kind of pop on it, and it just comes out just like that. We'll go ahead and just put that down already on the replacement. So let's get our motherboard down, and you notice that you will have some areas that you have to remove these covers. That's for your front facing camera. So take that out. It's very important. Don't forget to do that. Get your motherboard in there. We're going to get this black screw in there. Now we're going to connect our battery, make sure we have our connector aligned, and then we're just going to disconnect it. We just want to set it down and make sure you don't get this under the battery, that little connector there. So you want to align your battery connector, and you can actually connect it just to make sure it's all good. Some of these battery or service packs have battery adhesive on it. You can take advantage of that. But if the adhesive on the battery is pretty good, once you get that connected, you can push down on the battery, making sure that this connector here is not under the battery. Once you get it connected, just disconnect it once more, as you will be connecting other electronics or other connections, which is what we're going to do now. Film over that fingerprint reader. We want to get that out. You can see the flap there. You can use a pair of tweezers. You can just do it the way I just did it now. Do that before you drop your daughter board in there. It'll be so much easier than trying to get it afterwards. Get that in there. You kind of want to push it down this way if you can. And to ensure the connection, you're going to put the two black screws that were on there before. By the way, for those using the same driver, for this particular model I use 5.5 on the torque. It actually has been different on some models, but 5.5 on the torque. Next, we're going to bend this connector this way. The adhesive, if the adhesive is still good, it'll go on there. If not, once you put your cover on, it'll hold it down. But let's see if the flex connector goes in there. We'll see. So the adhesive worked in there really good. Got it down there just fine. So both connectors are in there nice and snug. Next is your antenna cables. If you disconnected them, you're going to have to reconnect them. If you didn't, like I did, all you need to do is tuck them in. So I just confirmed how it was when I got it, and the white wire was on top, so I kind of want to do it the same way. It can be a little tedious because you have that little notch in there. It's really thin, but you want to kind of take your time to get it in there. Push it down with something plastic. Don't use metal. If you got a long enough nail, you can use your nails. That's fine too. You just want to make sure it goes in that little crevice. Okay? Once it's in that little crevice, then you can get your white cable over that one. You want to be extra careful. Okay, once you have it tucked in, don't forget you have your little fingerprint sensor. Then you can connect your battery. After you have fingerprint sensor in there, then you can start putting everything back. After we connect the battery, of course. Right, then we got the bottom part. Same, you're going to tighten your screws. And we had one little guy remaining right here. Okay, the next thing to do is we're going to get some adhesive tape. We're going to put our tape all around here and then put it back on.